Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Effed. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. This video is sponsored by Two Black Eyes. On Monday, I take somebody to the hospital because they needed some tests done. Oh, the test came back perfectly. And then one day later, septic shock, blood pressure of 65/50, and they're almost shooting themselves to death. I swear, fixing people seems almost as annoying as fixing a MacBook sometimes. Like, remember when you had the 820/2850 MacBook where you had the frame buffer line, it would have the voltage go down on it every now and then? Not a lot, like on the 820/2330, it used the exact same circuit that they used for the frame buffer power rail in the 820/2850 to power the MCP in an S5 state, where it would go from 1.05 volts to 0.3 volts, where it was very, very obvious that was the problem. But I mean something where it's like 1.55 volts or 1.35 volts, and it would go to like 1.32 every now and then crash, where it's really one of those things where since it's not as obvious, you couldn't figure it out. But if you knew that the 820/2550 was using very similar circuit, if not the identical one to the 820/2330, you could infer that that same capacitor was bad, which is C9560 on the 820/2850, which was the same capacitor as the C7771 on the 820/2330. It's one of those things where it really would take you years to figure out that that's the case. And unfortunately with people, you don't have years to figure out that that's the case, because within those few years they could shit themselves and almost die. So I have not gotten a lot of sleep recently. However, one of the good things about not being able to do anything and sitting in a hospital waiting room is that you have a lot of time to work on wiki.rossmangroup.com, which is my new project that I am utilizing to try and document every instance of consumer fuckery that I talk about in these videos. Before I do a video going forward, for every video, I write an article. And these articles are revisable, editable, correctable by all of you. So I covered this in a very, very old video where General Motors was collecting data on you from your car and then selling that information to insurance companies and data brokers that were then utilizing that information as a justification to raise your rates, and they did it in a very, very sneaky way. And a similar story came out with Allstate and one of their subsidiaries called Arity. Who is Arity? Arity is a subsidiary of Allstate that creates an SDK that mobile app developers can utilize to collect information from their customers and also package that information in a way that makes it fairly simple to redistribute and resell. More importantly, this information is very, very tailored to how you drive. So what does Arity collect? From their privacy policy, we got geolocation data, personal identifiers, personal characteristics, postal address, phone number, fax number, date of birth, partial social security, vehicle identification number, Wi-Fi access points, latitude, longitude, age, marital status, gender, education, occupation, employment status, household income, household size, household children, community type, and other type of demographic information. Inferences drawn from how you drive, which can be miles traveled, acceleration, deacceleration, braking behavior, cornering, speed, trip routing information, your mobile device or vehicle, including your location data, pretty much everything other than the color of the scar on my dick from when I got raked over a fence when I was 12 years old. That's a long story in and of itself, but like literally everything. So they collect virtually everything. And they have an SDK that you can utilize in your mobile application if you want to have a mobile application that spies on people in a highly creepy way without having to do the hard work of developing the creepy software yourself. So let's dig into this case and figure out what is true, what is not true, what is in the process of being proven true, and just can I get a good analysis of this 46-page suit that was brought by the state of Texas. Because apparently the state of Texas is doing the job of the FTC now, at least trying to. Better than nothing. Again, it's Ken Paxton, but like, you take what you can get in this world. So let's go over it. Arity is a subsidiary of Allstate founded in 2016. They claim to do the following: collect and analyze trillions of miles of driving data to create a greater understanding of how people move, with the world's largest driving data set tied to insurance claims collected through mobile devices, in-car devices, and vehicles themselves. Data captured every 15 seconds or less. 40 million active connections, because there's nothing creepy about that. The state of Texas Attorney General's office claims that this occurred without the consent of the drivers and has filed a lawsuit against Allstate Corporation and its subsidiaries, including Arity, which was founded by Allstate. The lawsuit accuses them of violating state laws, such as the Texas Data Privacy and Security Act, which, by the way, I never knew that Texas even had a Data Privacy and Security Act, or a privacy law in general. Live and learn. The data broker law and the Texas Insurance Code. Allstate and its subsidiaries reportedly harvested this data through software integrated into mobile applications, impacting millions of Americans, not just those who are Texas residents. Now I'd like to go over the claims that are made in this suit. Next up, I'd like to go over the claims that were made in this lawsuit, which ones we have evidence for, which ones we do not have evidence for, and which ones we do not have enough information on to immediately create a condemnation of Allstate, Arity, or these third-party applications. While I most certainly have my own opinions on the matter, this wiki is supposed to be a factual source of the information of everything that I talk about on this channel. It is supposed to be something that I can show to a senator, and it must be held to a higher standard than a blog or crappy modern journalism. In order to do that, this has to be about more than than just this company did something, this sounds bad, so on and so forth. We really have to hold ourselves to a high standard here for this to be taken seriously. In fact, on my own wiki, with my own name, hosted on my own server, we have a notice. This article requires a change in tone notice here because it did not live up to the standards that we wrote. My standards apply to me the same way they apply to anybody else. And if you think it hasn't lived up to that particular standard, you're welcome to edit it. We don't even require you create an account. Continuing on here, let's go over the claims that have evidence and the claims that do not have evidence. So we have gone over all the data collection that Arity does. This is all easily confirmable from their own website. However, it is really important here to demonstrate that just because they say they collect all this data on users does not mean that that in and of itself is a condemnation or proof that they have broken a data privacy law. These citations are all simply quotations from Arity's website. That in and of itself does not contain evidence of malfeasance. For instance, Geico's own smartphone application allows individuals to opt in the driver monitoring data collection, and that offers you a chance at lower insurance rates. But Geico is upfront about this. When you utilize their application, you have to opt into that. It is not opt out. And I have no problem with that. If a company wants to collect your personal data and they give you an opportunity to have your personal data collected in exchange for helping you, you're allowed to agree to that. As long as they give you an option to opt out of it, I'm good. It's when they don't give you an option that it's bad. These allegations in this suit are honing in on the secretive collection and monetization of the insured's private driving behavior data without proper disclosure or consent to the driver. And again, them simply saying that their privacy policy says they collect this stuff, that is not enough. Now, the easy opt-out or the lack of an easy opt-out. This is true. Their privacy policy on their website does not make a meaningful mention of how to opt out of data collection. Their website occasionally links to outside websites that will be of little help to someone looking to limit Arity's data collection on them, such as the Apple Support Center, which is not really going to be very, very helpful for most people. When you go to their website and you read their privacy policy, you are going to want to figure out how to opt out from data collection. However, most of you are never even going to actually visit this website because most of you don't actually know that Arity exists. Arity creates an SDK. TLDR, it's just a bunch of code that you could implement into your application if you don't want to write something that sucks up everybody's data. You're too busy to do that. You've got cats to feed, greenies to buy, and you see how he fucking woke up when I did that? Clinty. Yeah. You got cats to feed, greenies to buy, videos to do. You don't probably know who Arity is. You may be utilizing an application that has Arity code that's sucking up your data, but you don't know that they exist. So it's one thing for them, a website, to not actually have an easy way to opt out, but the bigger problem here is the fact that you don't actually have a relationship with Arity at all, and that's something we're going to be getting to later on over here. Most people who are Allstate customers and most people who are utilizing any of these applications have no idea what an Arity is or that they exist. Defendants worked to integrate Arity SDK into mobile apps. The claim that is made in the suit is that Arity and Allstate paid partnered applications like Routely, Life360, GasBuddy, and Fuel Rewards to integrate their SDK into the apps. Now, we can infer why these applications would want this SDK in there and why Arity would be so excited to have this data-sucking crap in every application out there that they'd pay for it. We can infer that, but that would only be an inference. Part of this is something that has evidence, and the other part is not. So there is a large market for driving data that businesses are willing to pay for. Application developers have an incentive to receive money from other businesses, and Arity, which is making this SDK that sucks up everybody's data, has an incentive to provide their SDK that collects driving data given the market for driver data. However, Arity's website, nor anything in this lawsuit has any proof whatsoever that Arity is paying companies to implement their mobile SDK. There is no citation for that. There is no evidence for that yet. And it is important to bring that up because the lawsuit says it as if it's a fact when it is not actually demonstrated to be a fact, nor has any evidence been provided. Arity's website markets themselves to individuals and businesses that would want to utilize their driver data collection within their applications. And they're doing that in a commercial tone. It's very obvious when you visit their website that this is what they're looking to sell. A beginner's guide to leveraging a telematics SDK for your mobile app. They have the person looking at their phone that's really happy that they're being spied on, probably has no idea that this is what their photo is being used for. They're talking about implementing a telematics SDK, contact us, get in touch, let's partner and suck up everybody's data. But they're not actually saying we will pay you to put this in your app. I mean, for all you know, you may actually have to pay them. That information is not made available over here. So there's really no proof that Arity has been bribing people to put this in their application yet. I can believe that, but it's something that I would believe with evidence, and it's kind of something I'm biased towards believing. But again, this wiki is not about my bias. This wiki is about the facts that are out there, the evidence, and why it is very important to be very, very careful anytime you read this stuff with any sort of trust me bro shit. Over here, refer to anonymity and vagueness in citations. We're going to be going over that later on in this video. This used to be called the Trust Me Bro article, and it got renamed because of tone policing here, which again, I'm cool with. I know we got standards here. We got standards. With regards to having a partnership with GasBuddy and Life360 and many others, you don't have to infer this or guess because that is made available on their website. On PR Newswire, you had GasBuddy and Arity discussing their partnership, and Arity also has case studies on their own website about their integrations with applications like Life360. So they are implemented and integrated into these applications. And that, again, is a big part of the problem. If you are using the GasBuddy application, the GasBuddy application may say, we use your data like this, but they're using Arity's SDK. Arity's SDK's privacy policy says, we're using your data like this. You don't know that Arity exists. So you don't know that Arity is using your data like this. And we're going to get to that later on in this document because that's the part that I find most damning and most troublesome. The lawsuit claims that Arity's terms of service provides information on how your data will be used, which is taken from Arity's privacy policy. And let's read it. Arity shares your information with its business clients as part of your purchase or use of services from those business clients. Those business clients include, but are not limited to, insurance companies, as well as mobile app providers who track the location of members of a defined group or who provide weather-related information. If you have purchased an insurance product offered by an Arity business client, then your information may also be used by that business client to calculate insurance rates or awards provided under the Proctor service. Our insurance company business clients may also use your information to update their pricing and underwriting models. All such use of your personal information by our business clients is subject to their privacy policies and not this privacy statement. Now, notice what's going on here. At first, they talk about their insurance business clients as if it is only their insurance business clients that are going to be utilizing this information. Now, these are two that are in conflict with each other. Over here, it says all such use of your personal information by our business clients is subject to their privacy policies and not this privacy statement. However, it also says Arity shares your information with its business clients as part of your purchase or use of services from these business clients. And obviously, this lawsuit is looking to make the accusation that we're leaning a little bit more on this one than we are on this one. So if the first one is the one that is true, and if this lawsuit is actually able to produce all the evidence during discovery to demonstrate that improper sharing of information was going on, we would be working with something like this. James is using an application developed by an Arity business client. James did not know who Arity is. The business client has not told James how Arity uses his data. Therefore, there is no way that James could have consented to Arity's privacy policy. If you have purchased an insurance product offered by an Arity business client, then your information may also be used by that business client to calculate insurance rates or awards provided by the Proctor service. Arity's business clients are not always insurance companies. This means that Arity is claiming that your insurance rates may be raised due to data collected by someone who is not your insurance company, which is a serious problem. If the application a user is running on their phone does not disclose that the information they are collecting on them may raise their insurance rates, that means that they are being materially harmed by the terms of a privacy policy they were never made aware of. This can be referred to as a game of telephone privacy policy, which is one of the terms I'm looking to coin in addition to EULA Roofie, retroactively amended purchase agreement, and many others that describe the modern experience of using technology. Now we're going to go over the claims that are without evidence. These are claims submitted without citations or on information and belief, which is a way of saying that while the proof is not yet available, the Attorney General expects to find it through the legal process of discovery. Discovery? Discovery. Wow, I got to take a nap. Arity's purchased information from automakers to complement their own data. Arity's information collection was based on smartphone applications. Regardless of how accurate smartphone data collection is, this is an inaccurate way to judge the driving skills of an individual. For instance, if an individual is on a roller coaster, they are not driving, but they may be judged as a poor driver for sudden turns and acceleration. And I provided a photo here of this occurring to somebody who was using the Geico app. This is hilarious. My insurance company mistakenly believed I was driving my car when in reality I was riding the roller coaster The Beast at Kings Island. Those red dots indicate where the app incorrectly assessed my cornering and braking skills and lowered my driving score, which obviously is bullshit because if he was going that fast and did not fall off the roller coaster, if he was the one driving the roller coaster, that's a pretty damn good job. But in all seriousness, these applications in and of themselves are not good enough to create a score for you as a driver if they're spying on you all the time because they don't know when it is you're driving. You could be on a bus with a psycho driver. You could be in New York City taking a cab with a psycho cab driver, and the application may think that you are the one driving when you are not the one in the car. And that's an issue. So what the lawsuit is alleging here is that to try and supplement this data and try to make it something that's more usable, that Arity was also purchasing this type of driving information from every major automaker. So to potentially account for the Arity SDK data's limitation, defendants sought to combine the SDK data with data collected directly from vehicles. As a result, defendants began purchasing consumers' driving data from car manufacturers such as Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Jeep, Maserati, and Ram. However, as many websites have cited this and claimed it's true, this hasn't happened. There's no evidence yet. I'm happy to believe that with evidence, but the lawsuit in and of itself, within those 46 pages, does not provide a single piece of evidence or citation that any such data sale actually occurred, which means we cannot allege it as fact until we have evidence. And this is one of the really important things when reading through these when it comes to media literacy. On information and belief, it says the consumers did not consent, nor were they otherwise aware that the defendants purchased their driving data from these car manufacturers. If this is going to be taken seriously as an objective place to find every single instance of a company screwing you, we need to hold ourselves to a very high standard. And throughout that entire 46-page legal document, there is not a single piece of evidence, no citations, no corporate communications, no contracts, no nothing, showing that any major automaker ever sold any of this driver data to Arity. That's an important one. Because trust me, I don't trust the major automakers and I do not trust insurance providers. I have my own opinions on these things, but this is supposed to be a place where we go to get facts. And there are many journalistic outlets that have been saying that all these brands were selling data to Arity, but they do not mention that there's no evidence of that yet. And we do have to wait for the evidence. I must hold those that I do not like to the standard that I would hope others will hold me to as well. The lawsuit says, to potentially account for the Arity SDK data's limitations, defendants sought to combine the SDK data with data collected directly from vehicles. As a result, defendants began purchasing consumers' driver-related data from car manufacturers such as Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Jeep, Maserati, and Ram. On information and belief, customers did not consent, nor were they otherwise aware that defendants purchased their driving-related data from these car manufacturers. And we're going to talk about what on information and belief means and when I go over the second article. There's no evidence for this whatsoever. And when you read an outlet that said that Dodge, Chrysler, and Mazda sold data to Arity, they're usually going to cite this PDF. But they didn't read the 45 pages or 46 pages, because if they did, they would realize that this is simply alleged without any evidence. Just because I don't like you doesn't mean that I'm going to believe something bad about you without there being evidence. Next one that does not have any evidence yet. Arity has bonus incentive to developers for building data collection into their applications. The suit claims to encourage developers to adopt dependent software that defendants paid app developers millions of dollars to integrate defendant software into their apps. Defendants further incentivize developer participation by creating generous bonus incentives for increasing the size of the dataset. However, no citations or evidence for this are provided. Arity does brag about having the largest driving dataset, so I can understand that driving data has value, so I can see why they would want to pay people for it, but that in and of itself is not evidence. There is no evidence that Arity was paying developers to integrate their SDK into their apps present in the suit. One can infer economic incentives for Arity's alleged behavior. If driver data is in high demand, Arity could sell driver data to their partners for more money than the incentives offered to app developers to implement their data collection SDK. However, there is no evidence presented in the suit. The automakers that were accused of selling driver data to the defendant Arity were Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Jeep, Maserati, and Ram, and evidence was not presented for any of this. If anybody can find that evidence and they can factually cite that evidence, I would love to have it in the Consumer Protection Wiki, which we've rebranded Consumer Action Task Force, because there's something about CP Wiki that just don't name your website the CP whatever. If an application says that it is harvesting data on you, and that application is free, there's probably a reason for it. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this website, and I really hope to have more and more people contributing to this over time. This has been going absolutely amazing recently, so check this out. This was an article on my Netflix video, right? Netflix 4K stream quality controversy. Within one day, this was turned into this. Like just citations, details, screenshots, terms of service analysis, the complete list of hardware requirements, which requirements Netflix discloses, which requirements Netflix does not disclose. Like, this is beautiful. I mean, the thing is, even the person that wrote this, you needed to do that for somebody else to turn it into this. And I'm very, very, very happy, humbled, and excited to have all these people working together to document every single one of these instances of anti-consumer fuckery. We've got Blizzard on here, we got Nintendo on here, forced arbitration, Roku, everybody changing the terms of the sale. This is all going to be easily indexable. Please do jump in. All you got to do is click on recent changes over here to see what people are doing. Take a look at the things that are not cited well, try changing them, try working on them, try making them better, and do try to enter some articles on your own. What are things that you think should be in here that are not in here? Right now, I've got at least absolute minimum of 1,000 videos that have to be translated into stuff for this wiki, and there's a how to help page on the homepage. You go in the video directory, and yeah, there's a lot of work to do here, because there's a lot of videos that I've made on all these issues long before I ever had the idea to do a consumer protection wiki. I mean, Consumer Action Task Force. I really got to start using the new name for this thing. I need your help. I can't do this on my own. I don't even think Clinton can do it on his own. Can you? Plenty? Plenty? Hi. You see how fast it responds now? Look at this. Wow. I'm so happy I have my kitty back. Hello, Clinty. You're not, what the? You're not supposed to, whoa. Okay, never mind. He's not all the way back. He never used to slip like that before. You saw how he kind of had to catch himself. He has a degenerative bone disease in his back. It's pretty bad, so. He's a very fast cat. I mean, when he was younger, I've seen him knock over 60-pound the German Shepherds. He's kind of crazy. He's attacked dogs that are 4 times the size, and he's insane. But he's also old now, and he's not really. Yeah, he doesn't really get the whole concept of being a 16-year-old cat and not being a lunatic anymore. He's calmed down a lot in his old age, but have a greenie, Clinty. Have a green. Oh, ow! 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 Jesus Christ! All right. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. Good boy. For all you sponsor block people out there, I want you to ensure that this remains the least sponsorable, least brand safe channel on YouTube from now until the end of time. And the best way that you could do that is contribute to this as often as you can, so that my name, my personal name, is attached to a brand that will never, ever have a sponsor. Just like, look at this. The Blizzard, forced arbitration stuff, just everything. Like, Pluralsight. How many people have they sponsored on YouTube? It's just. No more. No more. No more. No.
I had no idea this was going to happen. They're like, oh yeah, no problem. We'll just send out a notary. And I